Greetings, I am CrossKnights, and this is my 5-year anniversary question and answer video. So, that's a little bit crazy to me to think that I have been doing this longer than I had been in high school. Because high school certainly seems like it lasted forever. That was also many, many years ago. So I guess a brief history of the channel. I started it like pretty much right after I got out of college, maybe a few months after. I remember one feeling that, like, because I went to college for graphic design, like my creative juices were not being properly adhered to after I got out of college, and I definitely wanted to do something creative. I remember thinking about Let's Playing for a while because it was kind of a new thing. This was 2010. Let's Playing was not huge yet. It was kind of just getting off the ground. It just got it off the ground like a year or two ago. And the main thing was that I thought I had to get like really good at a game so that I didn't make a fool out of myself. And I was watching people like Nintendo Capri Sun, who just like spoke so naturally. And eventually I was watching a Let's Player named I Like Being Smart, and you can actually still look her up, though she doesn't Let's Play anymore. She stopped like 2 years ago. And she was playing Yoshi's Island, and she wasn't that great. She got to this one point where she got some coins, and then the floor disappeared out from under her, and she fell down. She had no idea what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen. And it was hilarious. I laughed for like a minute, and at that moment I realized I don't need to be really good at these games. In fact, sometimes it's more funny if you're not great at these games, because then crazy crap happens. So that was pretty much all I needed to immediately start, and I started playing Yoshi's Island 2. It was really fun. I ended up doing like these little 5-minute videos. They were really quick. And at the beginning, of course, no one was watching. I was posting like 5 videos a day because I just wanted to get like content up as I was doing it. There was no backlogging. It's like if I had it, I got it up. I looked up a free editing program that I don't even remember what it was called, but it wasn't Fraps, because Fraps isn't free. And it was great. And for the first like month or two, I think I didn't get more than like 3 subscribers, but like it didn't matter because I was having so much fun. And eventually I started doing some other games, like some little flash games, like Tower of Heaven, 5X Men. And then I saw a game called Zombie Trailer Park that I played it, and I beat it like pretty quickly, and I read the comments that were on Newgrounds, because that's where I played it, and there were so many people who were like, I can't beat the last level, it's impossible. So then I was like, I just beat the last level, I should make videos on this game. And those were my first like wildly popular videos. Those got like 100 views in the first day. I got my first 30 subs from that, which was very encouraging to keep on going. And then a few months later, I ended up making Rebuild. And Rebuild, the first game, I think there was only like 2 videos of it up on YouTube, and I was the only one that put one up at the time that had commentary. And in the review of Rebuild on Rock Paper Shotgun, they actually linked my video. Now, that video got a few thousand views per day for a few days, and that's when I got my first 100 subscribers. And it was good. Like, at this point, I had a graphic design job, so I was working a graphic design job, and I was making these videos, so my creative impulses were completely filled, and I just kept on going. Eventually, I lost my graphic design job because the company went bankrupt, essentially. And that's when I decided, I was against it before, but I decided to monetize my videos. And I decided to move to a different place. And I ended up making way more money from my videos than I thought I would. And it was really just because of Plants vs. Zombies. But after that, like, even when I was thinking about slowing down because I needed to find another job, I was making enough money to not quite cover rent, but almost, and I still had money left over from my graphic design job. So the Let's Playing essentially became my job for a little while once my search to find another graphic design job became frustrating and fruitless. Like, I'd have like a freelance job every once in a while, but that was rare, and that was mainly from contacts from my last jobs, not from new contacts that I was making. And I'm sure there's other things I could go over, but that's pretty much the basics of how my channel started. I feel like it's already too long as an intro before I even start the questions. But that's how I got off the ground. Eventually I started meeting people from like Die Tonight and other things, and we created a little LPing group. A lot of them were streaming on, or were going to stream and Drive Not Found. But that's pretty much it. I figured that'd be a good thing to start off with. I think I'm going to get on to the questions, however. So, we got Lucas Wolf, who I know has been subscribed to me for a pretty long time. How's the future of your channel looking? You said you might never go back to how it was before 2014, but you've been a lot more active. How long will you continue, or will you close up shop in a few years? And also, can I go crow hunting with you? Oh God, I was driving with my girlfriend recently, and there was 3 crows. I figured it was one for each of us, me, her, and our dog. But then I don't know, I stopped paying attention. They probably ran away in fear. 2014, very rough year for me. I took a hiatus and just stopped. That's the only year where I stopped kind of wanting recording, but I was going through some serious mental crap then. And I just thought I was spending too much time doing it, because I now have a job and then had a job that I started where I was on the computer, so it just seemed like I was on the computer constantly. And I wanted to stop it. And also, that's when the Plants vs. Zombie views started to go down. Eventually, once Analytics was released, I realized about 70% of my money was coming from just Plants vs. Zombies. So I'm really glad that I decided to do that Let's Play. I wasn't going to. But that's the reason why things aren't probably ever going to go back to the 2014 levels, is because the only reason I have this many subs and the only reason I was making that much money was because of a Let's Play that's not popular anymore because it's been too long, and because EA screwed me and released Plants vs. Zombies 2 for tablets, and the tablet that I bought can't even record things properly because it's too old. So I'll probably never end up playing Plants vs. Zombies, which makes me really sad. When I get a new computer, I might try to get an Android emulator so I can finally play it, but Android emulators are not supported by Vista, apparently. No. But the future of my channel is looking about normal. I might not get as many views overall as I got before, but on the content that I post, I'm pretty sure I still get more views per new video than I used to, and that's kind of important. And will I pack up in a few years? I mean, I think at this point, the only way I'm going to stop is if I get a job that precludes me from spending this much time on it, which isn't the case now. It's kind of the case. It's definitely a lot harder to record than it used to be before I had that job. But if I lose this computer job, I could see myself needing to stop recording this for serious, and just really only sporadically release videos. That could happen. But other than that, I'm still having fun. I sometimes I have bouts where I'm like, I really shouldn't release a video every day because it's just too much. But then it's really hard to do long series if I'm going to do that, because then RPGs take like a year to come out. So I don't know. We'll see. Oh, and for anyone who doesn't know, most of my regular subscribers know, I have dyslexia, as I said. Reading proper names is bad. I'm going to butcher all of your names. I'm not doing it on purpose, but it's inevitable. So Mr. Shikiki? I don't know. Alright. Before the question, just a comment, I'd love to see more Marvel Heroes. I don't think that's going to happen, mainly because it's a gigantic game to download, and it's unstable and does weird things to my computer. Also, I don't think I like the genre, but I'm glad you liked the video. It was really made awesome because Butkus was Squirrel Girl, if anything. Alright, now for the question. What consoles do you have access to when recording footage for games? Unfortunately, pretty much PC right now. It used to be PlayStation 2, but I got frustrated with my capture card during Xenogears, and I haven't done a PlayStation 2 game since. Admittedly, Xenogears is a PlayStation 1 game, but I was playing it on PlayStation 2. My plan was to always get a capture card. I just never got a capture card. Maybe I should look back into that. It would be great to dive into my completely useless trove of PlayStation 2 games at this point. And I do have a PlayStation 3 now. Now, if I got a recording device, I could do PlayStation 3 games. But as of right now, so, I mean, I'd also have to buy some PlayStation 3 games, and my girlfriend has, like, Skyrim and stuff, but if I played Skyrim, I'd play the version that I got her for Christmas last year, which was on PC and could actually be modded and stuff. Alright, Assassin7787. What is your opinion on the destruction of the Star Wars expanded universe? Did you ever read any of the books and comics? Have you ever played any of the games, etc.? I love the EU, and I hate their destruction, but I understand why they did it. Yeah, they totally did it just for simplicity's sake, but I'm against it. I think George Lucas is kind of a hack, and a lot of the stuff he did was kind of lame. Like, one of my favorite Star Wars thing is actually Red Letter Media's review of the first Star Wars movies. Not the first ones, the prequels. But alright, I kind of digress with that. I was definitely against it. I haven't read any of the books, but I played Knights of the Old Republic, and I think that was an excellent game. that I'm amazed that it wasn't spoiled for me before I played it, because I only played it like 3 years ago. And CompanionCube is actually doing a Let's Play of it on his channel. I think he's slowed down with it because of recording issues, but he's gotten a decent way into it. But yeah, it kind of sucks. I also have to say I'm sorry, but I'm not excited for the new movie. And I have to be honest, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. Like, it wasn't a huge part of my childhood or anything. And I just have so little faith in just the way the franchise went that I'm not going to watch the Star Wars movies probably until they're old. And I can see if they're horrible or not, because, oh god, those prequels. Those prequels were somewhat good for comedy reasons sometimes, but just because the writing was so bad. Oh, sorry, honey, I just genocided a bunch of sand people. Oh, well, you know, some people get angry. Oh, I love you anyway. Like, there were signs. There were signs, Padme. You are blind. Alright, Hendrik Ratseep. Could you give some quick info about your real-life situation in history? Okay, I am 32, which makes me way older than most Let's Players. I have a bachelor's degree in graphic design that I'm not really using. I live in New York State, but I'm living not in my hometown. I lived in my hometown for 31 years. I guess 30 years, because the first year of my life I think I was living in a neighboring town, but, you know, I was an infant, so I don't remember that. So I lived in one place for 30 years. I currently live with my girlfriend after we briefly went to Arizona while she was going to college there, and so she decided, I really don't want to do this major, it's insane. And it was costing her parents a ton of money to go out of state at ASU she went to. So we moved back to New York, where her parents were spending a lot less money, and she's getting a very similar education in like a more broad subject. So I guess that's basic. That's some basic information for you. I'm a weird computer nerd that makes video games and rates websites is my other job. All right. Okay, you have posted on a lot of my videos, and I've never been able to even mentally say what your name is, but it's Gleipnir, so it's like Glepner. Alright, 5 years, nice. Anywho, let's see if I can think of something. One question or maybe two, let's see if I can do this properly. Have you ever come to face something that makes you feel like, can't keep doing this, this is not worth it, that you need to stop? And if there has been the case, what/who made you think otherwise so that you could do it no matter what? I'm assuming you're asking if I met a task in my life that I felt that I couldn't beat, and you're asking what I did to get past it. So last year, 2014, as I mentioned, very rough. I essentially slipped into a depression because it really led to the fact that I just felt like alone, and that I hadn't been in a relationship pretty much most of my life. And that I didn't understand other people, and I couldn't relate to them, really. But I was depressed because I was convinced that I was done. Like, I was over 30, I thought it was impossible to change at that point. And, like, I never do this, but I was depressed enough in a state that I actually posted a Facebook post basically saying, like, I'm mentally screwed up right now. And I got a huge amount of support from a lot of different people. One of the most helpful ones, actually, was this girl that I don't really know, but I knew her in college. Like, she was in my graphic design classes, and she basically mentioned, like, I used to be extremely shy, and I just made a focus and set goals to, like, change it. That helped a lot because she did not seem shy to me. She was very talkative. She knew how to talk about a variety of subjects to a bunch of people she didn't know. And if she was able to do it, I figured there was actually hope. So I started doing experiments. A lot of them involved, like, going to a bar. Like, the first time, because my hometown, I was still living there. I live in a college town, so I was just, like, going to this one bar that I felt comfortable in. It was pretty much the only bar in town that I felt comfortable in. And I was just, like, watching people and trying to figure out how they interacted with each other. Eventually, I was just standing in the back, and sometimes people would come up to talk to me, and I would try to talk to them. If there was, like, 100 people at the bar, I would just go there and try to stay there as long as I could stand it before I freaked out and had to leave. And I would do this when I felt the most isolated and want to stay isolated. Because sometimes if you're depressed, like, you don't want to be alone, but you really, like, almost have to be alone. Like, it was just too much to be around people. That's when I'd go to do it, when it was the hardest. Because I figured if I could do it then, I'd be able to do it anytime. And it started to work. It actually did start to help a little bit. I started to be a little bit more comfortable in those situations. Some people I would just mention, like that's why I was there, and some of them would be pretty encouraging about it. And I didn't really have a bad experience. The only time I had bad experiences are when I went there and wasn't able to make a connection with anyone, but that was as bad as it got. So I don't know. The whole thing was pretty helpful. I've never that proactively tried to change myself before. Whew. And now after realizing that I've been recording for 20 minutes and only gone through 5 questions, this is not going to be a short question and answer video. Oh, I thought since I gave like no time for people to answer, it was gonna be shorter. But all right, thank you, Gelpner, who I think is from Mexico. I think you mentioned. Yeah, thank you. You've been posting a lot of my videos. So you keep on saying "damn it, Crass." Why "damn it, Cross"? You haven't said that in a while. Anyway, Jesse2222. Also posting on many of my videos. Oh, I'm recognizing a lot of names. This is pretty cool. All right. Hi, Cross. Congrats on 5 years. This has been just in time for an assignment I have due next week about childhood aspirations. So my question is, what was your ultimate goal in life as a child? I know it's weird wording, but that's how it is for my assignment sheet. I know child is pretty vague, so let's put a time frame around it. When you were 8 years old. I know it's hard to remember, but I have to ask. Thank you. 8 years old. All right, I have to remember like 20 years ago. Not 20. I'm bad at math. It really is hard to remember. I don't remember. I don't think I really had some overall aspirations when I was a child. I just wanted to play video games, and I don't think I had gotten my comic books from my half brother yet. There was an event where I met my half brother. I think I was like 11 actually when that happened. And he gave me his entire collection of like 3,000 comic books, and it was kind of a life-changing event because I read a lot of those comic books. Like, that took up a lot of my time. So I'm just trying to think of any dreams I had when I was young. When I was really young, I remember wanting to be a baker because I liked baking. And I'm actually still pretty decent at baking because, skills you pick up when you're a tiny kid, you stay with at least a base level. I got to the point where I was able to make banana bread and cookies better than my mother when I was really young. And she's not a bad cook, it's just she'd do things like, oh, the oven says to leave them in for a certain time. Well, guess what, Mom? The cookies are kind of burnt and really hard now. Or, like, it calls for this much flour. Well, you put a little bit less flour. The cookies are kind of nice and gooey and amazing. So just little things that you intuit like that. But, I didn't want to be a baker for that long. I took some acting classes when I was really young. I don't think I wanted to be an actor, though, really. The prospect just seemed interesting. And I'm convinced that those that, have stayed with me also. When I'm doing, Let's Playing and, the voice acting, I'm pretty sure that had an effect. So when I think back to those experiences, I just think it's important to encourage kids that are doing things. But then if they say, see, this is a money thing. Don't spend a crap ton of money if you can't. But if it doesn't cost a lot of money and they want to do something, try to encourage it, because those skills might stay with them even if they lose interest. And they probably will lose interest. That's just what happens with kids. They get really focused on something and then, done. And I do think when I was very young, it's probably at that age, I was probably thinking when I got older, it'd be really, really awesome to, make video game. I think I wanted to be, a video game tester. But I certainly would have been happy with the way things worked out with the Let's Playing thing. There's no way anyone could have predicted that was going to be a thing, though. I do remember when I was a kid, though, I would sometimes record my video games with a VCR, because you could do that. On actual tape. You could play, and if you hooked up your console to the VCR, you could record things. But there was no way to do commentary. I guess I could have done it on a cassette tape, and I could have made the first most ridiculous Let's Play ever. But, that would have been amazing if I had Let's Plays from when I was 8. That would have been, the best. But, yeah, I'm sorry if that wasn't a really big answer, but I don't remember that much. I didn't have too many overarching goals. All right, Pop Stick for Life. Congrats on 5 years, and for the question, are you happy with where your life is now? I am definitely happy with the way my life is now. A large part of it, though, is because of this relationship I'm in, which is just better than I ever could have imagined a relationship could be. Because I've only had 2 relationships in my life, really. There was one in high school, and then there was a giant, over 10-year gap, and then there was this one, which, again, that's kind of why I was depressed in 2014. I thought I was just going to be alone forever. But it's great. I feel better in general. My insomnia's even gone away, and I think a lot of it... I realized that my insomnia wasn't a physical thing. It was all a mental thing, but it was a mental thing that I had no control over, so it's not just I could be oh, well, I know it's not real, because it was real. What was happening is that every single time I tried to lie down, I would actually start thinking more things, not less things. My mind refused to relax at night. It could relax in the daytime for some reason, but at night my thoughts went insane, and it was impossible for me to go to sleep under that circumstance. And I only know that because after getting into this relationship, I was able to talk to my girlfriend about anything that was bothering me, and my mind is just way more quiet in general now. And now if I want to go to sleep at night, I can usually go to sleep at night. Not always, but it's to the point where I would say I don't even have insomnia for the most part. Sometimes I stay up late, but it's like on purpose, because then I can get extra work done, or maybe I feel like recording. But most of the time, so things are a lot better than they've been for me in a very long time. I'm probably... Like, I'd be surprised if I didn't, like, sink into a little bit of depression now that, like, winter's coming, because that just happens, but it hasn't happened. I've had a few bad days, but it hasn't happened. But, yeah, pretty happy with the way my life is now. I'm getting a little bit bored with my job, but I can't really get rid of it, and there's no prospect for a better job. If anything, all the jobs that I could get would be worse than this, so... That'll probably be my next goal, is to start trying to work on my graphic design again so I can get back into that, because it's really felt stagnant, which is not a good thing. Alright, Gunrunner. CrossKnights, congrats on 5 years, and here's to 5 more. However, as we all know, truth is a bit like an apparent solidity of objects. If you get close enough, many objects are more porous, I don't know what that word means, than they appear. And at the atomic level, there is apparently a great predominance of space with active energies operating within that space. Who wins at Duck Duck Goose? Okay, so Gunrunner, I feel like the beginning of that question had very little to do with the answer. The answer, of course, often is the duck, assuming that a duck is someone... Well, first of all, I guess a duck could be someone who's not picked to run around the circle. They essentially win if they're not losing, correct? Also, how does Duck Duck Goose end? Was there an ending to that, or did it just go until people got bored? I don't remember. I'm gonna go with the ducks, though, because geese are kind of dicks. Yeah. Yeah. Ducks. Alright, Private Butt Kiss. If I cut down 8 trees in RuneScape, will you play Awesome Knots with me? And then he says, edit, just cut down 8 trees. Want to play some Awesome Nuts? I mean, you don't need to cut down those trees. I'd probably play Awesome Nuts with you. My girlfriend actually saw him post that, and then went online and asked him to play Awesome Nuts with her, and they played it. And, well, they lost, I think. But my girlfriend, by the way, has become recently obsessed with Awesome Nuts, and has now played more hours than Private Butt Kiss has. And she's only been playing for about 2 months, so she's obsessed with Squigans. She's definitely getting better. It's a little bit rough when we play because I'm bringing her up to league, like a high league 3. But in general, she's getting quite a bit better. I have to think in a few months she's going to be pretty damn good. All right, Christopher. I think that's Christopher with a K. Christopher Sanders. Do you plan on doing more Mario games? So Christopher Sanders has been watching a lot of my old stuff and posting on a lot of videos that didn't even have comments. I remember you were watching all the Yoshi's Island stuff, and I was just like, where did these 20 comments come from? Oh, okay, they're all in different videos. Unfortunately, Nintendo has recently taken an extremely bad stance towards Let's Playing, which makes me not, 1, want to risk doing their games, and 2, just support any of their damn products. The only Mario game I was thinking about doing was Donkey Kong for the Game Boy. Now, Donkey Kong for the Game Boy is essentially a platforming puzzle game where you're Mario and you have to get a key to the door, and when you do that, you can follow Donkey Kong, who's stolen Pauline, I guess, whoever his first girlfriend was in the real world. It's an excellent game. It's the first game ever where Mario is able to do the backflip move that he has in Super Mario 64. I'm pretty sure that's a true fact. I hope that's not true. Untrue. He can also do this weird handstand jump. But it was a really fun game. The puzzles were great. I even remember liking the music. But screw Nintendo. They're just really their ancient idiotic philosophies are probably hurting them, because a lot of people love their games and want to make videos of their games, and they're doing crap. They took down, like, do you know the thing about, like, Mario hacking, where you'd hack, like, Super Mario World and make your own levels and people do runs of that? They took down a ton of videos that were up for years recently, and people think that it was because they released Mario Maker and they didn't want any competition videos. That's a dick move. So, I mean, I'm almost like boycotting them at this point. And to be fair, there weren't that many more Mario games that I was planning to do. But there probably would have been a Donkey Kong video. Maybe, I mean, I might still do that, I don't know. But it's just dangerous at this point. They could take things down. I already got a ton of copyright strikes on my first Let's Play ever, Yoshi's Island, because of one or two songs, so... there's a lot of... I mean, that Let's Play is almost unwatchable. I feel like it was unwatchable anyway, though, because it was so early that I wasn't that great. But alright. Guck Fugel. I feel like if you move two of those letters, it says something else. Tell me a story about your childhood years, and call Butkus a dum-dum. Butkus, you are a smart. And you know what? If it wasn't for your purposeful trying to be a private, I think you'd be a major by now. I think you'd be Major Butkiss. Which also works for the pun, by the way. It's actually a better pun. Yeah. Maybe one day you should be Major Butkiss. I bet you could do it if you really wanted to. A story about my childhood. There's not a lot of amusing things about, like... You said my school years, not childhood. I can't think of a lot of things that I did in my school years that were all that amusing. I remember in math class I had one friend, and we'd do this thing where we'd like dance in our seats like whenever the math teacher wasn't looking, and the second she looked, we'd just freeze. And then we'd be like But I didn't really get into any antics like that. I never got into trouble. In high school I was depressed and kind of asleep all the time. I will say there was one story when Final Fantasy VIII came out that there was essentially a hurricane in my town. Like, my town didn't get heavily affected by weather, but when there was a really bad thing on the coast, it would. And I found out that Final Fantasy VIII was at Blockbuster, where you could rent video games, assuming kids don't know, because Blockbusters don't exist anymore. But you used to be able to rent discs of video games for a few days and then give them back for like $5. So I went out in the hurricane, and it was amazing. Like, there's wind everywhere. I was pretty much the only person outside. I don't think I saw one other person. And there weren't that many cars. I stepped over a tree in the woods that I had to pass through to get to town that had just fallen. I saw like power lines like eeeeet, and then I got to Blockbuster, which was open. I'm surprised at that point. I came in there and I got the game and I went back and I played it for like, oh god, I played it for days straight. I played it like all the way to the ending, like, because you only rented it for 5 days, but I did get to the final boss. And amazingly enough, my power didn't go out. It went out all around town, but for some reason, the gaming gods knew that I needed to play Final Fantasy VIII, and it was great, and I loved it, and my opinions of Final Fantasy VIII are way lower now. A big part of Final Fantasy VIII's appeal was the graphics and the music were really, really good. But in retrospect, the story and there's gameplay aspects that I would not be cool with now. Their leveling system was borked, and their draw system was dumb. But, I don't know, I guess that's a story of me being so desperate to get a video game that I'd walk out into a hurricane. Like, almost being blown over. It was good. Fortunately, a tree didn't crush me. Alright, Mr. CCS says, "You are so amazing. Congrats on 5 years. Thank you." There's no question, but thank you very much. Kelsey Ernest. Cross, are you happy with your life, or would you rather like to go back before LPing, if that question makes sense? So basically, do I like my life better now, or do I like it better 5 years ago? I definitely like it better now. The only thing I liked is that I had a job that I really liked. That was the best job ever. It wasn't paying me anywhere near what it should have been paying me. I actually did the math, and if I did the math based on hours that I was working, based on what I was getting paid, I was getting paid a little bit less than minimum wage for that graphic design job. It kind of wasn't okay, but I just enjoyed it so much, and I was really just supposedly getting experience so that my boss could find me another job, because he worked for an organization that like did that. That never happened. He ended up retiring and then basically saying, "You should go back to the organization instead of helping me." He said he was going to help me, and then I just didn't go back. I moved and I started Let's Playing, and it started making me money. So my life probably would have been rather different if I went back to that organization. I might have actually found a graphic design job, and things could be extremely different. So if I went back, I might try to do that just to see what would happen. But no, things have gone way better than I thought they were going to go right now. I'm pretty happy with what's happening right now. Alright, games for noobs. Will you ever play the best game ever, Undertale? I will play it. I don't know if I'll record it. I do not play RPGs blind. Ever. So I understand this might be a game that's probably better blind, but if I record it, it's not going to be blind. Sorry. I do want to play it, but I haven't bought it yet. So I don't know. I'll play it. Maybe I'll record it. I don't know. We'll see. I've heard a lot of people like it. I've heard from a lot of friends and people on my channel that I would like it, so. Alright. Cross, what is your real name? I know a bagillion people must have asked. This is from Lukey Gaming? Locky Gaming? It looks like he has a Scott Pilgrim type icon. And then Zachary Garnett posted, it's Adam, which is correct, and then he said, okay, thanks. Yeah, that was actually asked in either my first or second FAQ videos, and yeah, my first name's Adam. That's all the information I choose to disclose about that. But yeah, it's a pretty boring name. But it's mine. Bravo Blue, I haven't seen you post in a while. Do you think you will ever go back to Nintendo/retro games, if ever? Not that I don't like your new content, just wondering. Also, congrats on 5 years. When you said that, I realized, like, have I really gotten away from retro content? I looked at all of my games, and I'm not entirely sure. I mean, if you just mean games that were made from, like, the Super Nintendo, I've definitely slowed down from when I was there in the beginning. But, like, I just recorded Earthbound for, like, a year, and that's as retro as you can get, pretty much. Well, it's not, obviously. Nintendo would be retro as you can get. But, the main thing is that most of the Super Nintendo games from my childhood that I wanted to record have been recorded, all of the major ones. And that's why there hasn't been as many of those. I've had it in my head, and the thing is, you say retro game, if you don't count Earthbound because you don't like RPGs, then you're not going to like this, but I've had it in my head that I should play Breath of Fire. And that is a really old-school RPG, way more old-school than Earthbound, either, and I think it was like first-generation Super Nintendo. But that's a huge RPG from my childhood. Very retro, minimalist story, like minimalist dialogue, random encounters, turn-based, very simple mechanics. But I loved that game as a kid. Just the idea of these people that turned into dragons. And there's a lot of Breath of Fire games. There's like 5 or 6. There might only be 5. I think Dragon Quarter might have been the last one. But the first Breath of Fire game was cool because there was tons of people that could turn into dragons. Like, in all the other games, they're like the dragon blood is thinned down. There's like, it's like only you. But in this one, it was your light dragon clan versus the dark dragon clan. There were tons of people with crazy powers. And all the people that you get in your party, well, there's a girl that had wings, so you were like humanoid, but everyone else was like based on a different animal. Like, there's a fox guy, and there wasn't a frog guy, that was the second one, but there's a snake woman. Just really, I love that game, and I might let's play it. That's a huge commitment, though, again, and I don't know if I should do it. But I don't know if people are interested in Breath of Fire. Just tell me. If you actually sifted all the way through this question and answers video to tell me that you want to see Breath of Fire, I know that you're really serious. But I don't know if anyone's going to say that. But we'll see. If I really want to do it, I'll do it. If I don't, I won't. I don't know. Does anyone have any suggestion of Nintendo, like Super Nintendo games that they want to see me play? I guess feel free to suggest those, and I'll at least think about it. That being said, again, games that are actually made by Nintendo and have Nintendo properties, less chance that I'll play them at this point. All right, so Matthias Arguyo. There's my first gigantic butchery, I think, of the night. Congratulations, Cross. So my question is, how did you meet your girlfriend 203? My girlfriend 203 is from the same hometown as me. She went to the same school as me. However, she is 5 years younger than me, so I didn't know her in high school or anything. I met her 8 years ago through some mutual friends, and we hung out a few times. We mainly hung out because we both really liked chess. That was kind of how our friendship started, was over chess. But she was always in another relationship. So I never even really considered going out with her because she wasn't available. And then again, 2014, crazy year, I ended up visiting her in Arizona for a few weeks, and then we drove back to our hometown, because every year when she was in Arizona, she'd drive back to her hometown. Literally drive across the country from Arizona to New York. So she wanted someone to drive back with her, and her boyfriend was just not down with going back to the hometown, because he fled our hometown. Our hometown, pretty good place to grow up, but if you were into the drug scene, they had a lot of friends that have died or committed suicide. So I was a nerd. All of my friends are still alive. A lot of their friends were just killing themselves and destroying themselves. And him and her, eventually they're just like, we can't live here anymore. This is too terrible. We're getting caught up in other people's BS. So he didn't want to go back. And we definitely got like closer over that road trip, but he was still going out with her. Eventually, though, they ended up breaking up. I was extremely depressed and looking for someone, so it was just amazingly good timing. And we helped each other. Like, we were both in a really bad place, and we helped each other. So it's just nice to like date a friend, like someone who was already your friend, and now you're in a relationship. Amazing. It worked out really great. We've never had it's been a year, by the way. It's been almost... When did we say our anniversary? We decided that our anniversary was October 20th, I think. So it's been a year, and we've never had a major fight. Like, anytime we have a disagreement, we've talked about it, and then I think we both understand and we make up. So that's insane, by the way. I don't think I have friends that I've hung out with that much for a year and we haven't had a major fight. Yeah, things are going great with that. So yeah, knew her for years. That's how I met her. Okay, cutting it right there. The rest of the questions will be answered in part 2. I should be able to finish them all in part 2. And this episode of... I've been showing Binding of Isaac Afterbirth in the background. It will continue from there as well if you're watching that as opposed to just listening. So, I'm CrossKnights. I'll see you then, and thank you very much for asking questions and for watching. Later.